Hi, my name is Robert Chelle with Chelle Law, and I'm an attorney that assists dental associates with employment contract or independent contractor agreement issues. Today I'm talking about the differences between a W-2 or a 1099 for a dental associate. So the main difference between the two, if you are an employee, you will receive a W-2 at the end of the year. All taxes are going to be taken out of your compensation when you receive it on whatever the pay period is, usually bi-monthly or something like that. You're going to most likely receive benefits. They're going to have complete control, or at least more control as an employer versus if you're working as an independent contractor, of your schedule, when you work, where you work, who you see, all that type of thing. Whereas if you're an independent contractor, you'll get a 1099 at the end of the year. No taxes are taken out of your compensation. You will most likely not get any kind of benefits. Maybe they'll pay for your underlying premium or your annual premium for your malpractice insurance, but that'll be about it. So what makes sense for a W-2 versus a 1099 position? Well, the IRS lists a kind of 20-factor test that you can go through to determine whether someone is being misclassified as an employee or an independent contractor. Most of the time, it's the organization pushing the dental associate to be a 1099. And the reason why they're doing that is to get out of having to pay for employment tax. Employment tax, now this is state dependent. It could be usually somewhere between 8 to 12%. So I find many organizations or clinics, whatever you want to call them, practices, will push a dental associate, even if they're working full time, to work as a 1099 simply so they can avoid having to pay employment tax. If you are misclassified, there are some potential drawbacks for that. One, the IRS can come in and do an audit, and if they determine that someone has been working, as an employee and they're being misclassified as an independent contractor, there could be back taxes, fines, penalties associated with that, state level as well. And so if you're working as a 1099, but you're actually, or at least your duties are probably more employee, like employee leaning, you do not want language in your contract that states you are responsible for any kind of reclassification, penalties, back taxes, any of that kind of stuff. That should be the employer's responsibility. 99 times out of 100, the dental associate doesn't have a choice, meaning the practice is going to say, this is what you are, take it or leave it. And so it's unfair that you would be responsible for all of those fees, penalties, costs, attorney's fees, any of that kind of stuff. So make absolutely certain there is not language saying that you are the one kind of taking all the risk and the liability as well. All right, so what scenarios would make sense for a 1099? Well, if you're just doing some, occasional work at a practice once a week, a couple times a month, it doesn't make sense that you would be an employee. It makes complete sense that you would be an independent contractor. If you're working at a practice full-time, maybe 5 days a week, and they're dictating the days that you work and the hours that you work, and they're doing all of your scheduling, and you're using their assistants and their hygienists, pretty unlikely you're not an independent contractor in a scenario like that. Or perhaps they even have some exclusivity language in the independent contractor agreement, meaning you can't work anywhere else, or there's some restrictive covenants as well. It's just much more likely, if there's a problem as a dental associate, that it's going to be that you've been misclassified as an independent contractor, and then it opens you up to potential liability for reclassification. Now, smart ways to work as a 1099, usually you could create an LLC, get a tax EIN from the IRS, open up a bank account, and then very easy to make any kind of expenses taken out of that account. So licensing, dues, CME, equipment, scrubs, any of that kind of stuff can be ultimately deducted. So I would sit down with an accountant, kind of go over the best way to strategize and create your corporate structure, which will put you in the best position financially. So, all right, that's a little bit about being a W-2 versus 1099 as a dental associate. If you have any questions about your employment contract or independent contractor agreement, feel free to contact my law firm at the information listed below in the description. And I appreciate you watching the video. All right, thanks. Take care.